Welcome, everybody, our members, anybody who has reached us for our Preparation for Adulthood event here at Family Voice Surrey. I'm thrilled to be joined by two of our trustees, and you will see the third one that we've recorded a little bit separately due to time and capacity. So I hope those of you who've seen some of our sessions already, I hope you've enjoyed them. Thank you for taking part. It's been a really wide-ranging programme, and we've been really pleased with the range of people who have joined us to speak to you about this interesting part of our children's lives. So today I'm joined by Simon Morley, who's one of our trustees. He's also our treasurer, and in a feat of vague superhero-ness was also our chair of trustees for the last year or so. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to thank Simon for his support when I joined as ops lead, and really thank him for taking on that dual role, because it was quite a thing. And I'm also joined by Sally Allen, who joined us as a trustee. The date escapes me, but it feels like forever and yesterday all at the same time, and is now our new chair. And, you know, I want to say thank you to her as well, because already she's shown amazing leadership and really helpful mentoring for me. So thank you both for joining me. We're going to be talking more about the Preparation for Adulthood event, but also about what Family Voice is, what we do, what we've done, what we've learned, and I suppose how we've changed and how we're looking to change as time goes by. Sally, shall I hand over to you briefly?
Yes, thank you, Benedicte. I'm so excited to be here, and however many of you are out there, thank you for joining us and tuning in. I spoke to one of our colleagues earlier, and we're only into day 3, isn't it, of the event, and already we've had between 600 and 700 viewings. Isn't that right, Benedicte? Is that about
that
right?
Sounds about right. It keeps going up. The beauty of what we're doing at the moment is that you can join anytime with your cup of tea or in the evening when you've got the kids to bed. And so all of the speakers that we've had and the Q&As that we've had are still available and will continue to be available for you to watch. So the views keep going up.
Brilliant. So that's really important to hear, because our annual Prep for Adulthood event has been going for a few years, hasn't it? We've had this sort of year on year, and it's a very important date in the Family Voice calendar. And we normally would include our AGM in this, within this event, which Simon ably chaired last year. I'm sure you will remember. And certainly within this event, it's the opportunity for everybody to come together, basically, under one roof and have informative discussions, and for organisations and individuals to sort of showcase their areas of interest and expertise, and also to gather information. So it's been a critical event, really, in our calendar. So obviously with COVID and other things that have come along, we kind of thought, well, we don't really want to lose this event and the essence of it. So I'm pleased that we've been able to, well, expertly, that Benedicte and the team have been able to put their heads together and come up with this wonderful formula. So Benedicte, could you please explain to us what's different this year compared to other years? Why is it so different?
Well, I think first of all, if I start by explaining that preparation for adulthood is a phrase that's used in the world of special educational needs and disabilities to ensure that our young people are as able to be as independent as possible in adult life. And that starts really very, very early. It shines a light on 4 areas in particular: employment, health, education, and community. It's something that you'll hear in schools, with voluntary sector organisations, in the health world, in social care. It's really all pervasive. What we normally do is we normally work with one of the further education colleges in Surrey, and they very kindly help us host it because they have quite a lot of space. It allows them to focus on the work that they do at post 16. And as you say, we invite speakers, we often have workshops, and we get between 250 and 400 people come. We often do it on a Saturday because that's proven to be more accessible for families. It's not just for families of children who are teenagers. It's, you know, we really encourage, if you've got a 3-year-old who's been diagnosed with cerebral palsy, for example, actually come along, find out what are they, because that journey, that questioning of what is that young person going to need eventually, it can take a very long time to put that in place. So it's open to really everybody. And COVID arrived, which was interesting. We had to learn a whole new way of working at Family Voice, just generally on a day-to-day basis. But we were due to have this event originally at the end of March, and so we postponed it. And I think at the beginning of the summer, we had our ops meeting, and I turned to the team and I said, we need an event. So we'd already postponed it to November, and I said, well, you know, that's great, but can we actually plan for it to be a COVID event? Because we just don't know. We know that our families are vulnerable. We absolutely don't want to take any risks. And I can't take any credit for any of it. I delegated, and Lisa in the support services team has done a phenomenal job. She's learned how to use webinar technology. We contacted a whole host of speakers, but she did the majority of it. And we decided that actually we could invite more speakers than we normally do. That although workshops might be difficult, actually we wanted an opportunity to have some live interaction, and managing that balance between really getting the information for parents, which means the speakers actually need to feel comfortable. So we decided quite deliberately to record most of the speakers and then to offer a live Q&As. And I'm really, you know, we know historically that if we get expert speakers or independent people, that's their bread and butter. They do this all the time and they're very well received. So that was the kind of easy bit. The trickier bit is when we talk to senior officers at the council, their job isn't to present things to a wide audience. And they're often, the idea of being face-to-face with a group of parents who might have some really challenging questions and discussions, it takes quite a lot of courage, I think, to do that. And I have to say, to a man, they've all been amazing. They've absolutely welcomed the opportunity. And what we've seen in this week is not only have the speakers' presentations been extremely well attended, but the live Q&As have been, they've just gone loads and loads of views. So it's been really interesting. It's been an interesting journey. And what we do is, you know, when we plan these events, we look at what are the topics that are in parents' minds, what are the ones in those more experienced parents who've gone through this, what do they tell us would help or would have helped them. So there we go. The other thing that we've done, and we're going to keep open for a little while, is we have a specific email address set up called questions@familyvoicesurrey.org. So we're collating all of the questions there, and we're going to be doing some follow-up work to make sure that the questions that didn't have a chance to be answered get there. And there's a piece of work to be done from those recordings to make sure that we make all of that information accessible and build on it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, that's fantastic. And as you say, that information is there, isn't it? So it can be accessed at any time.
Yes. So we've put all of the recordings of speakers are on our YouTube channel, and we will make sure that that's kind of properly advertised. At the moment, people are registering through Eventbrite, and the live Q&As we made a decision to do on our Facebook page to give it a little bit more of an intimate feel rather than being out kind of in a broader way. And we'd really strongly encourage any parent carers to join Facebook on our page. It's a really warm, welcoming community, and we have a variety. We have a page which is public, but we also have parent groups which are private, which offer far more confidentiality and a really safe space for parents to be able to share their experiences in the knowledge that they are among parent carers only.
Thank you, Benedicte. So a real team effort, which is
yes, everything at Family Voice is a team effort.
Yes. So on that note, there's a huge thank you to everybody involved, of course. And
absolutely.
Yes, which moves us sort of nicely on to the organisation itself, really, and family voice, and what have we been up to in the in the bigger scale of things, really, during these challenging times. And I guess, I want to start with a huge thanks to Simon as outgoing chair for your support and mentoring me as well as incoming chair, because it's just epitomized really the teamwork really that goes on behind the scenes, really, and we continue to work together, on some of these challenges that keep being thrown our way. So, we can't underestimate the amount of time, energy and effort that you've put into, supporting Family Voice over the years. And it's a huge thank you from all of us, really, for your calm and professional manner as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure working with both of you and with the team. I mean, Family Voice are a really important organisation, but we're a small organisation and we all have to do our bit and do what we can. So it's been my pleasure, and I'm just pleased to be here doing what I can to help.
I'd like to, if there's one point that I can make here, it's really, really important to me that we're really clear about that notion of teamwork. People will see me, I tend to do the Facebook Lives, I've done the questions and answers, and it would be really, really easy to look and go, oh, it's Benedicte is doing this, that and the other. The only reason I do that is that of the team, I have a bit of a performance background. I used to be a musician. I find this easy. It doesn't faze me. I like the idea that even though you're not in the same room as me, you're all with us. But that doesn't come easily or naturally to a lot of people. I'm on the lookout for more people to join us who enjoy doing this bit so that we can get more. But you will have seen, those of you who are already members, you'll have seen that some of our coordinators are brilliant and they do their own little Facebook Lives on their coordinator groups. So it's very, very important to realise that there isn't anything that I do on my own. We all work together very, very closely.
Thank you, Bea, that's fantastic. And on the subject of performance and maybe doing things a little bit more, bringing them to life, normally we have quite a sort of cut and dry, boring AGM, but I thought perhaps we could be a bit more dynamic with this session and tell you a little bit about what we do as an organisation and what we've been up to, really, and what our hopes are, if we can have hopes. And I think it's important to have hopes for the future, really. So yeah, if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask you guys to also, contribute over coffee with me just now. So relax. And we can put our feet up and we can actually have a chat over coffee now, over, what the organisation has been doing over the last year. So we've normally, we've had our accounts looked at, we produce an annual report, and that's the normal rhythm of things in the life of a charity. So we're pleased to say that our accounts have been looked at, they've been audited, and the annual report is, in the process of being audited now and signed off. The auditors are happy, aren't they?
It's all been agreed.
It's all been agreed. Fantastic. Hot off the press. Fantastic.
Always good news.
Yes. Phew.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth picking up on that a little bit, if that's all right, Sally. Just if you don't mind me just sort of saying that, we are still a small organisation. Perhaps people don't understand quite what we are. We are 2,500 members, which is fantastic. I think maybe more than that now, going up all the time. But we're only a small team of probably 15 people in all. Yeah. And 15 people who do everything from a few hours a week, like some of the local coordinators do, to a few days every week, and much more, I suspect, than she tells me about, like Benedicte and Claire and the others in the central team who do such a fantastic job, plus us governors who do our little bit, trustees, I should say. But we're a small team, it's only 15 of us. And, so we're all parent carers, or nearly all parent carers. So we live and breathe and understand what our members interests and needs and frustrations are. And we have to work closely with Surrey and others, but particularly with Surrey in understanding and interpreting all the changes that are going on to the services for our children. And you know, we do that on not a lot of money. We get pretty well funded by Surrey, but only because we're part-timers. We'd love to have more. But we have moved from being, I think, a happy amateur group, which we were 2 or 3 years ago, to being, I think, an equally happy but slightly more professional group now. We are a charitable incorporated organisation, so we have a legal identity to Family Voice, which it didn't used to have. It has its own constitution, and we're regulated by the Charity Commission, which we didn't used to be. And we also have to have our annual report inspected by an external third party, the Menzies firm of accountants. So these are the evolution of us to become a more mature organisation without losing that ethos of being what we are, parent carers, and being what we are, a very agile and a very forceful little team, I think, who work very well together. So this, you know, being examined and having our accounts looked at and that sort of thing is all very formal, but it doesn't change the essence of us being a group of very committed parent carers and others who believe in the work that we have to do, and it's an important work.
Thank you, Simon. That was beautifully put, and that was the reason why I joined. I joined Family Voice, and I'm very happy to volunteer for them. And I think that's why we're here, the important aspect of why we're here. So thank you for that. So at this point, I think it would be important to introduce, if we can, Karen.
Yes, I think that's really good. I'm going to put a little proviso here, which I may cut out later, that because of timing, we're going to need to do a little bit of editing. We recorded our conversation with Karen the other day. Please forgive the video editing quality. We have a lovely young person, actually with additional needs himself, who is brilliant and a perfectionist, but we have a time limit in order to get this out to you. So we're going to be balancing that desire for perfection with the importance of actually reaching you at the right time. So please forgive any glitches. And I'm going to introduce Karen and hopefully cut to her in a second.
So last year as a trustee, I was asked to proofread the annual report. I realised when reading it last year how long and wordy it was. I was told that it needed to be like this because it was actually quite a legal document. So me being me said, no, it doesn't. I was then told that our members liked a narrative or a story around the report, which sort of made sense to me, but it did still make the report quite wordy. I then questioned the reply as I didn't like the report because I'm dyslexic. So I find long reports quite hard. So I thought about that and I probably thought the feedback that we'd received was that the members who liked a narrative and a story, the ones who had fed back about they liked it as a narrative story, and someone who didn't maybe wouldn't have fed back. So as I'm dyslexic and as I questioned about actually our members could well be dyslexic and our young people that we represent could well be dyslexic, but not just about dyslexia, but also about someone who has a processing difficulty or someone who has an attention deficit or someone who just really prefers visuals and this is their preferred way of learning. So I requested the summary report last year, and basically my timing as usual is I was too late. So I was too late, and that was last year's AGM. Well, this year, let's just say it's been an interesting year. However, the same situation happened again. I was sent the proof of a very long report, which I needed to sign off. I inquired about the format and how we should be meeting these members. And as usual, I probably left it a bit late. So I was told it was too late. So as a parent with a child with young people, and I'm sure our members can really relate to this, I'm used to fighting for what I think is right or what should be a really good idea. So basically I said, that's just not good enough. And we are here for our members. And if we cannot get it right in an annual report format, then why would any of our members trust us to get it right when we represent them within Surrey? So we had a long chat, and so I'm very pleased to announce that we have a very long story narrative report for the people who like to read a lot and look at the stories. And we also have a very, what we've called a short or easy read or summary read report. Within that 2 pages, it's got very limited text, it's got visuals, it's got photos, and it's got varied colours to help people to be able to line read across the page. So it's really, really important for our members this year. Please give us some feedback. Was I wrong? Was I right? Can we do a bit more to it? Can we help with the longer report? We can still do 2 reports. It's whatever our members want and whatever they find, you know, the most acceptable format, and we can carry on doing 2 for our members. So it's really important this year to give us some feedback. But the most important thing is that please, please, please look after yourselves, keep safe, keep mentally well, and I look forward to the challenging year that lies ahead.
Thank you so much, Karen. Do you know what I love about that, apart from the fact that you've challenged us to produce something that I think is, I'm really proud of the collective work that we've done, but it's one of the brilliant examples of why parent care reforms work. It's really important to know that everybody who works at Family Voice is in one way or another a parent carer, and we have children with different needs, we have different experiences, and what you were saying about the fact that we've all had to be advocates for our children, and that we kind of raise that to the next level when we join the parent care reform, don't we? Because we're representing a collective body, and you are absolutely right to challenge us that we know we have to be accessible, because otherwise it makes a mockery of what we do. Would you like me to show you a little bit of what it looks like?
Yes, because I'm very proud of it.
Thank you, Karen. That was very insightful, and obviously I was part of those challenging conversations that we all had in making sure that actually our message is put out in a clear and concise way. So we're pleased, obviously, that we've produced this wonderful glossy document of easy read, but actually what does it mean? And we thought actually that we would bring it to life a little bit. So rather than a dusty document that sits on the shelf like any business plan, we're going to actually flash it up now by using
magic.
Yeah, magical skill.
There we go. So that one, share. Oh, hang on a minute, sorry. Let me try that again. No, will that work? Do you think, are you happy with our faces in the corner?
Yes, lovely. I'm happy with my face in the corner.
Yep.
Super.
Always. Brilliant. Okay, so Benedicte, I thought, first of all, it's about, so who are we and what are we about? And I think, Benedicte, you can explain this beautifully.
Well, I think, you know, actually, Simon made a really good start, I think, it's really important to know that we are all parent carers. Occasionally we have somebody who joins us who isn't specifically a parent carer, but they've always got a really close link with additional needs. They might have additional needs themselves. They might have a partner that they're caring for. There's always a real understanding of what living with somebody that you need to support and advocate for is about. We do a number of things. It feels like we're kind of a go-between sometimes. So our main aim is that we do collective representation, which means we need to be able to hear what is the community of parent carers in Surrey feeling, what is their experience of services, of life, you know, because actually services are about making your life better, aren't they? So how does life feel? And what are the bits that are going well? What are the bits that are sticking? What are the bits that are really ghastly? And then on the other hand, we work with Surrey County Council, with health partners like the CCGs, with voluntary sector organisations. Social care sits within the County Council, as does education. And we work with them at a variety of levels. So sometimes it'll be a piece of research that's very much on the ground. They want to hear that direct experience. Other times, a lot of our time is spent on strategic boards. We are really privileged as Family Voice Surrey to sit on some very, very high level boards at Surrey County Council, which allows us to make sure that your voice, your experience is at the heart of the decisions. So some of the things that we're able to do, one of the things recently that came up was around language. Is, you know, do we in the autism world, is it true that parents want a diagnosis? And actually we challenged that and said, no, parents want an assessment to understand what's happening. And that changed the whole conversation from something that felt quite negative, the parents were demanding something, and has now become a really collaborative conversation about the need to understand the child and the child's needs. So those kind of impacts, you realize that through voicing the stories that we hear, it's not about my story at all, it's not about Sally's, it's not about my colleagues, it's about all of your experience as a whole. And then we'll have some impact on some policies, or it might be working with elected members sometimes. We do quite a bit of work with comms teams in Surrey to see, you know, how is there a message that they want to give you going to land. I'm sorry if we get it wrong. There's a lot of compromise in what we do. So it's very often that we will come to a conclusion where we can go, we've gone as far as we can, we've advocated as much as we can on behalf of our community. And then there are other factors that mean we can't go any further. But we're there really to make sure that your voice is constantly heard in every part of the SEND system.
Thank you, Bea, that's fantastic. And I think we've, in our annual report, the next slide, I think, sort of articulates, doesn't it, the...
Oh, it worked. Sorry, it worked so well I did it twice. I'm so sorry. I got a little bit excited. No, where am I going? Oh, here I go. Sorry.
The second slide, I think.
Yes, is it this one?
No.
Oh.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I figured it out now.
I'll put my glasses on.
Technology is a learning curve, everybody, and I am learning at the moment.
I love it.
Here we go. Second slide.
Don't cut that bit. It's really important. We show our imperfections. Fantastic. Very important. Yeah, great. So this was a strong message, actually, which you so well articulate, Bea, that we wanted to put down into just black and white, really, a very clear statement about who we are and what we're here to, to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, importantly, for the next slide, we really wanted to highlight we wouldn't exist without you. We talk about team, but very much, the members are part of our team. We rely, like, the tentacles of an octopus, we so rely on the information that comes back to us, the skills that we have, within the wider team, within our members and their contribution that everyone has a part to play somehow, in the organisation.
We have, it's a really delicate thing, because you our members we can't do anything without you. We can't do anything without your stories, and we can only get your stories by talking to you and getting to know you. And that's part of the joy of working for Family Voice. Actually, everybody enjoys that bit, I think, the most. What's really challenging is that, as it says at the top, we're not a support group or a protest group, and we're not an advocacy service. And so we have to kind of find this balance where we do a lot of signposting, because we've got quite a lot of links. We know what Surrey offers, both in the system, within the system, but also voluntary sector. So we do an awful lot of signposting. What we tend to do is, if we hear the same story from 3 or more people, let's say, we can then escalate that and we can advocate for that issue. Equally, if we come across an individual story that is spectacularly an outlier or raises some really serious safeguarding, then yes, absolutely, we have a duty to raise that. But so many of the, it's quite difficult, I find, when I speak to a parent and I want to be able to fix everything for you, and I can't, and that's not our role. And it's important to understand that, because we do have an important role, and we can only do it because we're not advocating for individuals, because we're doing it as a group.
Benedicte, just step in slightly. We don't fix things immediately today, but what I like to think is we are fixing them in the long term by changing the way that Surrey County Council do things and others do things. So it's not just that we can do things today for you, but hopefully in the long term, we will make things better.
Yes, absolutely.
Which sort of leads me to, you know, looking at all of this and the annual report, you know, there are some things that really stick out for me as the highlights, really. I think COVID and thinking about how we do things differently has really honed in on, you know, the challenges have really honed in on the amazing things that make us unique, haven't they? And how we've responded, I think. And there are some key things that really jump out for me that, if I may, I can sort of really highlight.
Shall I go to the next slide?
No, okay, thanks. I'm happy to
Super.
sort of do things a bit differently and talk, if that's okay.
Yeah,
just really
absolutely brilliantly. Just make sure you tell me, that's all.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I mean, no, I mean, tell me if you want me to move on.
Yeah. tell you when to talk. It's kind of the story of our lives, isn't it? Tell me when you want to talk. As we get so excited, yeah. Okay, so I just think, you know, the event has really highlighted the extraordinary way that we've been able to respond really quite quickly, which sort of demonstrates how agile and creative we are. I think, you know, as parent carers, we're used to sort of getting our heads down, getting on with it. And when there are competing pressures and noises and crises going around, you know, it's navigating our way really through a sort of network of complexities. So when COVID has sort of come along, really, you know, our coordinators have been able to sort of get out there, you know, sort of remotely, basically. And
I have to say, there wasn't a second in which we considered stopping what we were doing. And in fact, we increased the amount of communication we had with them.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Bea, because that's it, I think. And that's the formula, really, because, you know, the coordinators with the communication networks that they've now got locally, and, you know, that ability to actually tap into what people are saying, and, you know, they're listening and they're hearing stuff. You know, people have come back and actually looked at different ways of doing things quite quickly. We are small, as Simon, you have said. You know, we are agile and we are also creative as parent carers. And I think, you know, the response, how we've responded to COVID in the last sort of 8 months really has sort of personified that. And picking up on your point about, you know, we don't advocate, but we do look for the good stuff, really important. You know, we are pro stuff, really, you know, we really are, and not just anti, you know. There is stuff that we may be uncomfortable with, or there may be inequity, and there may be things that we need to put right, you know, but we will look for the opportunity to put those things right and to use your voice to put those things right, and our skills, collective skills, to put those things right. And that those are the things that have really, you know, we've honed in on in the last, you know, 8 months and responded to. And I think, you know, we've demonstrated through what we're doing now that we are imperfect. All of us are imperfect, and we celebrate those imperfections. But we're prepared to put our heads above the parapet, as, you know, Bea has said. And, you know, I've done that in my working life, and I continue to do it, you know, every day in my life, because actually it's that thing that is going to make the difference, really. And we celebrate those differences, and we're not polished or manicured or anything like that. And you won't get a polished performance from us, but what you will get is, you know, what you see is what you get. And also, I think that our creativity allows us to look for alternatives which get us through the challenges to the status quo, because actually this is no new news. There is no such thing as a status quo anymore. So I think we're well placed to actually provide those alternatives to the status quo. And we talk about this amorphous thing called effective partnerships. And I know that Bea and the team have been working flat out with Surrey and health colleagues to understand and have some very, quite challenging conversations about what effective partnership is. And parent carers are part of that partnership as well too. And I think it is about taking the risk and again, outside our comfort zones. And this is what the effective partnership this event has done. It's highlighted those effective partnerships that we've got colleagues and people that we work with and parent carers who are prepared to go live and, for the record, to have the debate in public. I mean, how fantastic is that? And we just want to thank you all for trusting us and, to caretake this wonderful, information. And we promise you that we will build on it together and, do something amazing with it. So thank you very much for your confidence in us. So yeah, those were the things that really sort of jump out at me really. But I think Bea, if you could provide a bit more detail and a bit more evidence in the activities, that we've been doing, just sort of shine a light on those things that you're particularly proud of that we've been able to do.
Shall I move on to the page that shows a little bit about that?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah. And
so we have a Family Voice Surrey and number. So this is our annual report. So it takes us to March of 2020, and goodness knows it feels like we've had about 10 years since then. But it gives you an idea of our social media activity, on the number of memberships and how our website is going. And hopefully, if all goes well, I know that the parent carer members has gone up. So I know that this time next year it'll be bigger. And we're always looking to grow. We know that there's over 20,000 families affected in Surrey. So the goal is 20,000 members, but we go little bit by little bit. So this slide shows you, it gives you a glimpse of the kind of activities that we undertook last year. One of the biggest ones that you will see as a member is our coordinator project, where we were planning. It took us a while to get it happening, but we now have a local coordinator in each borough, which is really helpful because Surrey is a really strange county. It's quite large and we have some very, very different areas. So Spelthorne, for example, is really quite built up. It's small, but it's got a big population. Waverley, where I happen to find myself now, is very green and very large. And the services and the experiences of each of those boroughs is quite different. So having a coordinator who lives in that borough and knows the communities, the schools, the voluntary sector organisations has been really, really helpful. As we were saying, through COVID, they've become Zoom-based and Facebook-based. So we have private groups on Facebook for each borough where you can have a confidential conversation with parents who live in your area. But we are doing, so with COVID, what we've actually found that it was better to have county-wide coffee mornings so we could host more events. And we usually have up to 2 or 3 events each week now, some with speakers, some are just general coffee mornings. We had a really very successful one, I think it was last Saturday, where parents had told us actually it'd be really nice to have something during the weekend. And our coordinator, it was Kim in Spelthorne, amazingly said, yes, I'll do that, no problem. And more we're doing more focused groups. So we have a group for focusing on parents of children who are 0 to 4, because that fits in with one of the pieces of work that we're doing with the council, which we'll see when we talk about what we're doing this year. So last year, that was really, we focused in on that a lot. Sally's mentioned effective partnership. We believe really strongly that we can't change people's minds if they don't trust us, if they don't feel comfortable talking to us. So it's been really important to us to build relationships whereby, if I have a problem, I can phone up the relevant council officer and they will either pick up the phone or they'll send me a text saying, I've got some free time tomorrow at whatever. It's been a big piece of work that's really now coming to fruition in a really good way. We have very good flows conversation. And as part of that, we're also developing escalation processes that are more formal, but that give both parties that backing to say, actually, what we want, the way we want to work isn't working. We do need to push it. We need to challenge it a little bit more. And again, that's built on, which has been really good.
Can you tell us a little bit about our the learning and development that's gone on, you know, with our own teams, but also with parent carers, because you put on some training events as well.
We do put on training events. So one of the things that we've done in the last several years is one of our big events in the year is to offer some training from IPSI, which is, I can't remember. It's the organisation that a voluntary sector organisation that provides legal advice and training for parents in the SEND world. And it's always a very, very popular event. Luckily, that one last year happened in January, February time. So we just slipped it in there before COVID hit. COVID has changed things quite a bit. And actually what we've been doing this year is we've had far more training on smaller things. And what we try to do is really respond to what our members are asking for. I don't think it'll come as any surprise that there was a huge demand for support around anxiety management, both for parents and for children. So we've run several events around that. We've had events that are specifically ADHD training, and then more general ones. But most of them this year, we listen to our members and we find out what training they need to help support their children. And it can be around the law around SEND, it can be around a specific condition, it can be around behaviours. The range is kind of limitless. We had a beautiful one just recently run by, it's the Council for Disabled Children have a programme called Expert Parent Training for parents whose children have health conditions, and it helps you navigate the health system. So all of that kind of thing comes up.
Great, thank you. And you'll see on our slide, obviously we've got number 10 membership, but actually that should be number 1 membership, couldn't it? Number 1, increase diversity and reach. So this is something, obviously, you know, we continue to do its activities for this year,
Yes.
but it's a rolling action that we have as an organisation. I think it's really important for us to highlight that. Obviously, we're so proud and pleased that there have been 600-700 people being able to sort of access this information. But equally, we're very, you know, mindful of the people who haven't been able to access this information and what we do. And that's really important. So for us as a team, we will be continuing to look at who is actually getting into contact with us, and more importantly, who isn't. So
one of the things, Sally, it's a really, really important point. And one of the things that we discussed was how are we going to give access to this Preparation for Adulthood event? And we could have just sent a MailChimp to our membership list and sent them the videos. But actually what we know is that when we run our larger events in the real world, that's often where people first learn about Family Voice. It's where they first encounter it. It's where they first go, oh, I didn't know you existed. So we very deliberately promoted it really far and wide. And what we've also done is made sure that all of our videos are going on YouTube, and we're going to be promoting that kind of ongoing. They're not going anywhere. They are there to stay. And we know that it's one of the ways to reach membership. Another of the things that we are doing within this realm into this year is beginning to find ways to contact schools and build relationships with schools directly, because we know that we need to reach families that may not. A school is kind of the central point of a child's life, isn't it? So if we can help the schools know what we do, they can then help us put in touch and help support those families who struggle with technology or with access for whatever reasons.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's, and I know, Simon, you've been very keen on this as, you know, when you were chair and also now, in, you know, diversifying the membership of the board as well, you know, so that we have a truly representative, you know, lineup on the boards. This is something that you've been keen to.
Well, I think I think I'd like to see the board grow anyway. I mean, we can have up to 8 board members. That's within our constitution. But diversity is very, very important. We need to hear the voice of all parent carers across Surrey, and any community, any background, and I think it's very important to do that. Not always easy, but we're always trying to find new ways to do that. So we would always encourage people who felt they want to be involved with us, who had the time to be a trustee, for example, to step forward and talk to us from any background.
Thank you. And I'm pleased to hear that there's some more outreach work that's planned for the future, so that we can really truly understand what the needs of certain communities are and how we can better engage, and maybe change ourselves to sort of fit with, you know, people's preferred method of communication. So I think that's really important, that we can be flexible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to meet those needs as well. Thank you, Bea.
Do you want me to move on to the other slide?
Yes,
or
please. Yes,
yeah.
please.
So I think we've covered quite a lot of this, haven't we?
Yeah,
as we were talking.
Yeah, I think we can sort of scoot
Yeah.
on. Yes.
So a little bit of information on where our resources come from and what we do with them.
Do
you want to talk about that at all?
Yes, please. If you could just give us a bit more detail behind those numbers, Simon.
Yeah. So I mean, our income is quite a large chunk of it comes from Surrey County Council. We want to have income from elsewhere, and in fact we've been quite successful in this year, because I'm talking about the accounts up to the end of March early this year. But in the new financial year, we've been quite successful in getting more grants from other places, and we'll continue to do that, so that we are not just beholden to Surrey, although they're an important partner to us. And that more money allows us to do more things. It's as simple as that. Our biggest expenditure is salaries, but considering we actually employ 15 people, I don't think that's a lot of money for 15 people. You know, they're all part-timers, what I've said earlier. But if we had more people, we could be even more effective. So if we can raise our income in other ways, we will want to do that. We have a reserve level. It's at the high end of what the Charity Commission recommend to us. But partly that was because we built up some reserves to spend on the project, the local coordinator roles, and that project has now come to fruition, which has been a fantastic thing. So we go into this period of uncertainty, and I know this from my own role elsewhere in charities, that all charities are going to suffer from uncertainty through the next few years because of COVID. There'll be less money to be spent on charities, and that's just one of those unfortunate things. I think we're in a quite a good place, but that will give us challenges to make sure we're spending that money effectively. But I think, sad to say, there are a lot of charities who are going to have a harder time than we're going to have, which is one of those unfortunate things. So we're okay. And as we come into this year, I think we've got some good plans which are happening. And so, you know, our long-term aim would be also to get would be to get a long-term agreement with Surrey to give us some more stability so we can plan future for further years. We're not there yet, but hopefully we can do that.
We're working on it. We are working on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Moving swiftly along.
Sorry, can I just say,
yeah.
I'm sad to say this isn't scripted, but I'm going to have to go because I know I can hear voices from
Parent
care duties.
Simon, care duties, exactly that.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, and you know, I wish well to all our membership and everyone else who's supporting us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Go parent.
I will. Okay.
Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.
This is a lovely snapshot of Parent Carer Land and Family Voice Land, isn't it, Sally? Yeah. So long as there's always somebody left standing, you're okay.
And we are so pleased that Simon was able to join us as well, because he's like everybody juggling so much at this time. So fantastic. So yeah, Bea, there's some exciting things that are happening in the year ahead, aren't there? And there are things that can go ahead regardless of COVID. You know, we can assign COVID to room 101 if we want and carry on with some of these things.
This is an interesting slide, because obviously for our annual report, we're talking about next year as if we were last March. So actually what you're seeing here is what we're working on currently. This is what we're up to. What we found is that COVID took up quite a lot of space in the spring and summer term, but actually it is going to continue to be part of the conversation because it affects a lot of things. But what we've actually found now is that we are running pretty much business as usual with all of those. Oh, you can see the column on the where it says work with SEC on, because I'm never going to get left and right. All of those things are happening. And one of the benefits, I suppose, is that because we're all at home and because colleagues in Surrey County Council are all at home, we don't have to travel anymore. We don't have to spend our time in our cars. And to some extent, it's allowed us to do a lot more and be more efficient, I suppose, with our time. So yes, that gives you an idea of, it's not all that we're working on, but it gives you a flavour of the breadth of topics that we engage with, I suppose.
Thank you. So just a sort of final message, really. I and the trustees are really hoping that you'll keep in touch with us or get in touch with us, really, because you know, the more people that we work with and who share their skills, knowledge and experience and vice versa, the better. And I know that obviously our Surrey and Health colleagues, you know, feel the same, you know, that we are very much, you know, working together to try and sort of solve issues, look at things, try and do things differently, the things that need doing differently.
And it's all about making our kids' lives better, isn't it?
Exactly.
I know I do a Facebook Live most weeks to our members, and I rabbit on about the same thing. But I'd like, I suppose, to say here is, if you're not a Family Voice member, join us. It's absolutely essential to the work that we do that we have a strong membership. If you'd like to work for us or work with us as a volunteer, or when opportunities come up, they do fairly regularly. Including on the trustee board. And the other thing that I wanted to just remind people about, who already know about it if they're members, but if you're not, on our website, we have a link to a form called Tell Us Your Story, which gives you the opportunity to share your experience with us on any issue. And all of those Tell Us Your Stories, all of those stories are really, really important evidence for our work. We call it participation work. When we're working with other organisations, we're participating in the improvement of services, etc. And that Tell Us Your Story form, I can't exaggerate how important those stories are. So please do carry on sending them. Talk to us on Facebook, pick up the phone. Any way that you can engage with us makes us so much stronger in supporting you.
Thank you, Bea. And thanks, folks, for tuning in, joining us, wherever you may be, and hearing what we have to say. That's fantastic. Thank you. And we've got a final slide of contact details, I think, Bea.
Indeed, there we go.
Thank you very much.
So great. I think that's probably a good place to keep for the end, isn't it? Yeah. And thank you, Sally, and Simon and Karen. When we've had you, it's been really good to get together and talk a little bit about what we're doing.
Yeah.